You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but, well, we got to keep scrolling here. But we got Garrett, and Garrett is going to talk to us very soon as I push some buttons here, and then he's going to talk, and it's going to be great. Here we go. What's going on? Garrett.
Okay, last call for Victory Monday, Ryan. I just had a lot to get off my chest.
Do it.
This team, if they can start eliminating the mental errors and get everybody healthy, the road to the Super Bowl is right there for them to just pass everybody up, because you've got other teams that have got some setbacks where it's doable more than usual, because you look at how Kansas City was playing against San Francisco. San Francisco didn't have a lot of guys playing that game, and Kansas City still wasn't even able to really do what Kansas City does normally. And neither quarterback even threw a touchdown in that game, which was just unbelievable. But what I'm getting at is there's just so many teams that I feel like are having like a ho-hum season right now. And I know it's a long season and things can really change. Somebody can get super hot, but why can't it be Green Bay that gets hot? And why can't they be hotter than anybody else? So I'm just thinking it's like, the scene from The Office when Michael comes back from Jamaica with the Jamaican drum, and the only note he knows how to play is hot, hot, hot.
Cling, cling, cling.
I'm like, hey, we got to be singing hot, hot, hot in December and playing hot, 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 because I think it's there for them to take. Everybody could be looking at, Detroit, but I'm looking at Green Bay as being the team that if they can put all their pieces together, man, it's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, look, things change over time. I guess the only thing that I would add to it is the reason we have confidence in the Packers being one of the teams that does kind of take that next step. You said a lot of teams are kind of ho-hum. That's true of some teams, like the 49ers. It's really not true of, like, everybody in the NFC North. I mean, it's been you could argue that it's been a little sloppy for the Packers, I guess, but winning lots of football games. But look, when the season started, I said, I look at the Detroit Lions and said, Jared Goff's one of the worst quarterbacks in football right now, but I have every reason to believe that that's going to turn around. It's not going to stay that way. And then sure enough, he goes on to have some great performances and is very rapidly rising up the ranks as far as quarterbacks are concerned from every conceivable metric. Said similar things about Jordan Love. This isn't just random guessing, just arbitrarily. I mean, this is looking at a team and assessing, are you playing above your means, at your means, or below your means? And, things can change. It's possible that you look at a team and say, well, we know they're better than this, and it turns out they're just not. Maybe the 49ers don't get better. I mean, they're having a rough year. Things just are not going their way, and sometimes it just goes that way where just nothing is going your way. They've had some serious injuries. I don't know how Debo's doing. I should check in on that. But just a lot of things that are really going poorly, and maybe it stays that way. But generally, I look at the 49ers and say they're going to pick it up. They're going to end up playing real well, possibly, probably winning their division, very likely to go to the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. And so likewise, when you look at the Packers, you could have a more pessimistic view, but again, like you said, there's a lot of mental errors. And when you look at it, you say, well, teams always make mental errors to some degree, but how much is normal and how much is not, is beyond normal. And so when you expect a return to normalcy, And that could be negative as far as the defense, but I don't necessarily have any reason to believe that because there's a lot of things that are different. We have a new defensive coordinator that's doing very new things that seem to be working. We have a very different backfield, which has been unbelievably beneficial. The two safeties, we went from having two of the worst safeties in football to two of the best. That makes a big difference, even if you don't think safety is the most important position in football. I also think it helps everybody around them. When the safeties are doing their job on the back end, it makes it easier for the corners who have been doing very well. I've been critical of Keyshawn, but since they bumped him outside, I haven't noticed really any problems. I'm sure there will be at some point. Everybody, has issues, but he's been great. I mean, the fact that if I were to say what our biggest liability is right now, it's rookie Javon Bullard in the slot, that says a lot in a positive way. Especially because, again, when we talk about potential growth, you don't look at rookies and say they're going to get worse. They don't have to get better, but you don't look at it and go, well, that's something that's probably going to regress back to being terrible. No, I don't think that. I think that this is a guy who's, first of all, just out of college. He's just learning a new defense. He comes in, he's a safety, and then they decide to switch it and they put him in the slot. I mean, he's just learning how to do 7 different things over the course of the last, 7 months or so. And so, yeah, let's say, and again, this is a biased Packer fan talking, but if the defense maintains, or even if it takes a half a step backward, which I don't necessarily think it has to, because I think it's actually getting better as we go on, but whatever. It roughly stays the same or fluctuates in this range from better to worse, whatever. But then you look at the offense and say, okay, Wicks is uncharacteristically underperforming. He doesn't have to get better, but let's assume he does. Dobbs is emerging. Reed has been fantastic with the exception of this last game. Every reason to believe that Jordan is continuing to improve and will continue to improve. He has had some uncharacteristic mental lapses. We went over that very thoroughly in the last episode or from today or whenever that was, regarding the turnovers being wildly uncharacteristic by every metric from Jordan Love at any point in his career, with the exception of maybe his rookie year here, I think, where he threw, 4 passes and, like a pick or something. Like it was high, but it was pretty much just entirely the Chiefs game. But yeah, I mean, there are some teams that are going to start to slip because they've been overperforming a little bit. Some teams are going to start to solidify, and you'll see that little gap start to widen, right? Or maybe some guys starting to rise just at that last minute. Usually that's the Packers just coming up at the last minute to sneak into the playoffs because halfway through the season they decided, you know what, we're really good right now. But things are going to start to sort themselves out, and I'm still very unsure of the NFC North because for the most part we've been kicking the crap out of really bad teams. There have been a couple big wins. I mean, the Vikings have beat some good teams. The Packers just beat the Texans, whatever. But I think there's going to be a large sorting in the next several weeks where the NFC North largely just plays each other and then some other really tough opponents. Again, the next couple weeks and interspersed throughout just the worst possible teams. And so there's going to be some auto victories. I mean, I'm to the point where I look at the schedule and just say, I don't know how the entire NFC North doesn't go to the playoffs. I really don't. Unless somebody just has a terrible record against the NFC North and ends up with a bad record. I mean, if we all kind of split against each other, we're just going to kick the crap out of everybody. I don't know. That is going to be important, though, and that is why the Vikings loss was very consequential, because a lot of this is going to come down to our NFC North record, how we did against each other, because there's 4 guys that are going to be fighting for spots. But anyways, I'm off on a freaking thing here. The bottom line is, yes, there's reason to expect the Packers to improve, because when I look at the Packers, I see a lot of things that I would expect to get better, more so than things I would expect to get worse.
Hi, Ryan. This is Randy, Minnesota.
Hey.
I have, I don't know if it's an observation or belief and also a question.
Okay.
My observation, or whatever you want to call it, is I think after this game was a game that late career Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers would have folded up the tent and just said, we're going to lose.
Sure.
I don't see some of the later teams that Rodgers quarterbacked. I don't think maybe they win that game.
I'm glad you specified, too, when you said later teams, because I don't want to pretend as though Rodgers never had some incredible comebacks. There have been some really incredible comebacks, but there just seemed to be, and I think to me, it started around 2018. And maybe it was even before that a little bit, but 2018 was the worst. And it was just a bad year in general, but there was just this feel of, and I remember saying it because I think that was the second year of my podcast. I remember constantly, as if you like the ranting and raving, holy crap, was I ranting and raving 24/7. But there was just this feeling of, within the first 5 minutes if we're going to lose because things aren't going their way and they put their hands on their hips and get all pouty and then we lose the game. And yeah, it is great to be a part of a team that just plays 4 quarters. Not necessarily, I'm not saying necessarily well, right? There's 2 different ways to say that. I've been complaining they don't play 4 quarters because what I mean in that context is playing well. In this context, all I'm really talking about is the fact that they're kind of have blinders on and they don't really notice the scoreboard and they just continue to play at whatever capacity. They don't quit. If they're playing poorly, fine, they continue playing that way continually, but they're not giving up. They're trying constantly, and that helps by winning close games like this in the end, whereas some other teams, specifically the Green Bay Packers in the past, probably would not have been resilient enough to keep fighting.
It was like, well, we screwed up. We threw an interception in the first series. We're going to suck, so the game's over with. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the only one who feels like that, but it's just kind of what I was thinking. And the other question I had at the end of the game, when Dobbs caught that last pass getting under 5-7 yards, it was like the referees were having issues with spotting the ball. Was it first down? What down was it? And maybe I missed it, but it was just like, I know the clock kept ticking. And it was like, why wasn't the clock stopped while they were trying to figure out what the heck was going on? Because I'm yelling at the TV, and then I heard Tony Romo yelling, times keeps running, time's running, time's running. And they caught the timeout, obviously, with 3 seconds left. But was that a game management issue with the referees? Maybe I'm wrong. And it's how it is, but it just did not seem right. Anyway, on to Jacksonville. Go Pack, go. Bye.
I'll be honest, man. I just don't remember. It doesn't stick out in my mind as being. I'm pretty bad with that. It's an unfortunate characteristic for a guy that has a Packers podcast, but that just doesn't ring a bell with me. I do. The only thing that I kind of remember was, the thing where you don't spot the ball, go hand it to the ref, and I remember our players doing a pretty good job with that. There was nothing that stuck it out in my mind as far as the refs not getting. I know the Packers were taking a lot more time than I wanted, and I was getting frustrated with that. Maybe that was kind of where you were talking about, that maybe it was a ref issue. I don't know. I'm sorry to say I don't recall. Tell you what, we'll take a little bit of an early break because we got 2 calls from Aaron. So rather than doing one and then break or doing both and then being 25 minutes in, let's just take our break here. We'll be right back with some Aaron.
Howdy, Ryan. How's it going on
Hey.
this fine victory Monday?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Glad to hear that. Anyways, does Tucker Kraft know that he's a 3rd-round pick?
Don't tell
I don't
him.
think he knows that he's a 3rd-round pick of the Green Bay Packers. Because it's wild to me. Because look at Sean Ryan, right? Sean Ryan wasn't doing anything, and then he was looking like he was going to be another classic 3rd-round curse bust or whatever. And then Tucker Kraft gets drafted, and Tucker is just like, screw that 3rd-round curse. That's not real. And then eventually, as he grows, Sean Ryan gradually, incrementally starts playing not like a typical 3rd-round pick from the Green Bay Packers and starts to look better. It's almost like Tucker Kraft said,
he broke it.
Said, screw this curse.
Yeah.
This is not real. I am going to cure this thing. And he, melted the curse away from Sean Ryan, came in and played Jordy Nelson. Because I just don't get Tucker Kraft. He makes no sense to me.
No, he does not make sense.
A dude that is his size should not dive and catch the way that he does.
Sure.
It's ridiculous. I don't even know, man.
Yeah, he's breaking some laws somewhere.
Looking at the game yesterday, the safety duo that we have in Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams, man, it's wild because you've seen over the last couple of weeks, right? Kyler Murray didn't throw deep on Xavier McKinney and what's it say, Stroud, and quarterbacks are learning, don't throw deep. But then, okay, you don't go deep, right? Lurking in the shallow waters close to the line, you've got Evan Williams, and I guarantee you other teams are learning his name now. It's just, he's everywhere. Like our safeties, we went from Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage and whoever we had last year to freaking Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Goot, I don't know, man. I think Goot took some ayahuasca this year and said, screw this. We need to get this crap done. Because he just went off in the offseason. Anyways, I'm super pumped. Victory Monday. We didn't have to watch the Bears play yesterday, which was magical. We watched the Vikings lose. Things are evening out. Anyways, peace out. 3 minutes is getting me. Bye.
Yeah, I think ultimately that's what teams want to create. They want to create a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of a deal. That's Matt LaFleur on offense. You know, if you try to do this, we're going to do that. You know, when you zig, we zag. That's it. So, yeah, exactly. Teams try to, especially with this style of defense, right? Traditionally, or you know, it's characterized as sort of a single high or middle field close, whatever kind of a defense. A lot of NFL teams don't want to do that because they want to protect against the deep passes. So if the Packers aren't going to do that, teams are going to be enticed to go deep. Well, that hasn't been necessarily very, it hasn't gone well for a lot of teams. So yeah, you're right. I think there's an element of maybe we don't want to do that as much. Plus, you know, if the pass rush can get home, then you're less able to do it. The scary thing is if you're trying to play sort of a single high, let's call it, especially man defense, and you don't have any pressure, now you're really susceptible to some of the dangers of these deep passes and whatnot.
And this is Aaron again.
Hey.
So for this game, right, since I live in Minnesota, I wasn't able to watch the game, so I had to go to a Packers bar to watch the game.
Sure.
Which I got sick at halftime and decided I wanted to go home. So I ended up just listening to it on the radio, which was good because Wayne Larrivee and Larry McCarron are pretty good at what they do. But anyways, so as I was listening to the game, come the end of the game when the Packers drove down and put Brandon McManus in the position to kick, I might be one of the few people that had no doubt in my mind that he was going to make the field goal. I know we've been burnt in the past by kickers missing a lot and at inopportune times, but Brandon McManus, he's not a slouch of a kicker. You know, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he won both of the Super Bowls with Denver a few years back. But the thing is that whatever the allegations were, you know, like, I'm not going to get into that. All I'm going to say on the matter is that he has been slandered. His name has been slandered, and he has, and whatever, I'm going to lay off the reason, like I said. But I guarantee you, in the time that he was let go by the Jacksonville because of the allegations, he probably thought at some points that he was never going to be able to play football again.
Sure.
I'm sure that went through his mind. And so he has been through a lot over the last couple of years, right? And looking through his Instagram, he seems like a really good dude. He seems like a really good dad. So I'm not going to comment on everything that went on. That's between the league, that's between Goot, that's between them. But if you think for a second, after everything that he's been through, that he was going to miss that 43-yard kick, I mean, PTSD from being a Packers fan, but that dude's been through a lot. And so he probably, in his mind, you could see how excited he was to go do the Lambeau Leap. Like, having the opportunity, your first kick back after all that, be a game winner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not missing that. Anyways, so it's good to have a kicker again. That's all I'm going to say is it's nice to see. Anyways, have a good day, Ryan. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about that issue as much as I care to already. Obviously, you hope that everybody did their due diligence, and you hope that what was said about him isn't true, obviously. From there, you just go on, I guess. I mean, he's a Packers kicker. He's the best kicker we've had since Mason, for sure. Potentially, I mean, you could argue better if you wanted to. I don't know. It depends where you look at him at his career right now, whatever. But no, it feels good. Just feels good, and you're right about the confidence. Not that I knew he was going to win, especially when I saw the bad snap, but there was a sense of, like, it would be crazy if he missed it. Like, then you would start to feel like we're just freaking cursed. As opposed to, if we had Narvison or something, you look at it and go, I mean, it's sub 50% that he makes this. I mean, it would feel like Mason trying to kick a 60-yarder or something. It's like, it's not impossible, man. It could happen. It has happened. You know, I don't know. You never know. No, it felt good, and I do generally trust him. It's one of those things where when it comes to special teams, I think a lot of the time, especially, our entire growing up, special teams was just a thing that happened that you didn't have to think about very much. You didn't really worry about the extra point. When you scored a touchdown, you just said 7. That's for a reason. Because it's going to be, you correct yourself, well, 6, but it'll be 7. You don't think about what if he misses. That's not hardly a thing. It's a crazy thing when it happens. And I know a lot of that had to do with moving it back or whatever, but still, it's nice to hopefully get back to the point where we don't really have to think about it all that much. That, I think, should be the goal.
Hey, Ryan. Trucker Bob here.
Hey.
Just had to make a comment. Seen all over Facebook and different media, all the whining and crying about love this, love that, he's not as good, and all this stuff, and he could do better. And so what the crap? I mean, how much better do you want Love to be? Really, listen to this stat. Notable Green Bay quarterbacks, their first 22 starts. Mark Starr had 15 touchdown passes. Brett Favre had 28. Aaron Rodgers had 39. And Jordan Love had 45. And we're whining and crying and complaining.
By the way, I just want to point out, once again, most similar to Bart Starr. Just throwing that out there.
About this guy? Come on, folks. Do you realize how good you really have it with this guy? I mean, this guy could set every Green Bay quarterback record that's been set so far if he has a long career and keeps this up. Now he can add 3 more from this last case. So he's got 48 touchdown passes in his career so far. And what is it? Maybe a year old? I mean, he's up in the stratosphere, for crying out loud. Anyways, I'm just reading this crap on Facebook about love, and I'm just going, man, get a life, people. Appreciate what you really have. Anyways, Trucker Bob out.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the context of what we're talking about. Some people are just overly negative and nothing's ever good enough, and they've always been that way. They're always going to be that way. Again, I don't know what the context is that we're talking about on Facebook. I know social media can be very negative. On the flip side, though, again, I do think there's nothing wrong with setting a standard. Yes, there are some things that are good, but there are some things that are overtly terrible. The interceptions are out of control, and that does need to come down. Decision-making needs to get better. You can do that with anybody, though. It's not to say, I guess here's what I would say. Everybody has the right to critique things that are, assuming you're correct about it, right? Don't just whine about things that are fake, like Goot's bad because look at that one miss. Okay, that's not the best standard to use, right? Or same with Jordan Love. Like if you're saying here's a bad thing, therefore he's bad. No, those are not the same thing. Here's a bad thing, therefore he's bad does not work. Here's a bad thing that needs to improve. I like this. This is bad. Overall, you put it together, a lot of metrics have them like 13th, 14th. That's probably fair. Not the greatest in the world. Touchdowns are not the only metric in the world. But it also is a matter of, as opposed to, again, saying he's trash, simply looking at it and saying a lot of these things are very good. If he gets the interceptions under control, he's going to be great, elite, whatever. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm absolutely unwilling to excuse it. But we don't need to take it overboard. It doesn't need to be the end of the world. It doesn't mean he's a bad football player. He's got some stuff to work on. I think that's true of a lot of different guys. Edgerrin Cooper has been very good. There's a lot of things he needs to work on. Jaden Reed's been great. Doesn't mean we can't criticize. I guess the comparable thing here would be, on both sides of the issue, saying Jaden Reed is trash. Get this guy off the team, because despite the fact that he's been our best receiver this year and has been absolutely incredible, he had one bad game and made a really stupid decision on special teams. The other side of it, though, is saying, how dare you critique him because look at how good he's been. I wouldn't go to either of those extremes, and I'm not saying that's what you're saying. Again, I don't know the context of exactly what was said and that what you're disagreeing with, but nothing wrong with critiquing. Let's just not get crazy about it.
Hey, Ryan, TJ from Alabama. Listening to the Packernet call-in show after the game and enjoying that. Obviously, exciting game. More exciting than it needed to be, but still great. Kyle from Madison said something that struck me as pretty interesting, where he's talking about Jordan and not really comparing him to Favre and Rodgers, but, just talking about, because he mentioned, or he definitely alluded to it, as far as Rodgers, I think I definitely felt that. I think based on some of your comments in the past, you felt that is there would be times that in the first quarter something would not go right, and you just kind of knew that Aaron was good. Aaron was just not going to have it. And he was kind of going to tank the rest of the game, where if we were not coming back, and Jordan doesn't do that.
Yeah.
But Jordan is,
and again, just to kind of broaden this out a little bit, it felt like what happened is the entire team gave up. But the reason I put it on Rodgers is because he's such a massive figure. When he starts giving people that stare, when he starts stomping around, everybody kind of just follows his lead. And I think that's where kind of leadership comes into play, is recognizing that if I kind of just start throwing a hissy fit, people are not going to respond positively. And, I think Rodgers has a mentality that, unfortunately, I kind of have a lot of times, which is, I don't give a crap. That's no excuse. You need to man up and do your job, right? Just, like, I don't care that you're sad that I'm upset. But at the same time, it is what it is. And I think his demeanor would kind of exacerbate everybody else's. And I think the team felt what we felt. I think that's the bottom line. The team felt what we felt, and they just said, well, I guess here we go again. Here we go again. And, Jordan's just a different kind of guy. He doesn't have the emotional swings that you have with a lot of other guys. And I think Favre was also very good at comebacks. Not always, but a lot of the thing with him was, don't piss him off. If a team's winning and they get a sack and somebody gets in Favre's face, it's over. He's coming back. He's going to destroy you. I think the only comparable thing to that with Rodgers is if somebody did the belt. But outside of that, yeah, there might have been just some, just we're better than you. And it's like, I guess they're better. That sucks. Better luck next week. Again, the teams seem to follow the lead of the quarterback, and the quarterback right now that we have is very emotionless. I mean, he just goes on to the next play. He's just a robot. He throws a pick, he's upset, but whatever, just goes on to the next play. And I think the team kind of follows that lead. They just keep playing. Made a mistake, just keep playing. And I think this is sort of the fruits of that. I think that's one of the benefits of that.
There's also not Brett Favre, where Brett Favre, against the playoff game against the Rams, where he threw 6 or 7 interceptions, and he was asked after, and he said, "Wow, was that all I threw?" Favre would just sometimes get overly reckless and say, "The hell with it." Yeah. I don't think Jordan says "the hell with it." I think Jordan thinks he can make a play, and he does.
I think they're similar in that. I mean, it's not like Favre just didn't care and was just throwing picks on purpose. I think Favre just was very similar in mentality to Love, different than Rodgers. Rodgers was, he led some great comebacks. He was just more methodical. He needs to find that perfect plan, that perfect play. He needs to rely on things, the system going right. It's about outthinking your opponent. And, Favre and Jordan just have this, I can do any, I am a superhuman being, and I can make any throw at any time. And if I see it, boom. There's no filter there. It's just, I'm going to go do it. And I think that has been more of a detriment than a positive. But, you give and take the good with the bad. That's all there is to it. You try to minimize the bad, you try to amplify the good, and you just go with it. Again, I do think there's more similarity in that one area between Favre and Love, and you can call it the gunslinger mentality or whatever, where if they just see it, they sling it.
But so he's not so reckless that he just doesn't care that he throws interceptions, or even that's semi a badge of honor, like Favre's first pass that was returned for a pick six, where like that was a little bit of a badge of honor for him. I don't think Jordan is that way, but I also think he doesn't go in the tank if things start out bad, where he's his own guy, and I'm really liking that. Oh yeah, definitely clean it up. Definitely be a little bit more careful. But when Jordan throws a pick, I'm not worried about him going in the tank. He's gonna just battle back and go. So I appreciate that. And Kyle pointed out, and I appreciated the comment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about him going in the tank. I'm just worried about him throwing another pick. That's my only concern.
And then you said something on Romeo Doubs, as far as I went back and did a little bit of Kojak investigation and looked at some of last year's interviews and some of his touchdown plays stuff. It is different. There is absolutely a difference in his attitude now, like the last two games and last year. He was always not a big celebration guy, but the somebody kicked my dog look on him is different. However, you said something that I completely agree with, that his heart is still in. I don't know what's going on, and hopefully, whatever he is going through, he can get through.
Yeah.
But he is playing his ass off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
his heart is in it, and his head is in it, and I just hope he's all right. That's it. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, I've spent more time on it than I want to, but it's such a confusing thing that I can't help but try to talk through it to see if I can try to understand it. And again, I understand the mentality of some people, like just leave the guy alone or whatever, but I don't know, to each their own, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that ultimately is the important thing to me, because you can see a guy whose heart isn't in it when they're on the field. It's actually quite easy to see, because you have to be so locked in to play well in an NFL football game. And he has been about as locked in as any player I've seen in the last 2 weeks. I mean, he has been out of control. Him and Evan Williams maybe would be the two guys that you look at, and it's like they are just unstoppable. They're just forces of nature right now. So yeah, I will just accept that. He wants to play football real bad. And so great. Where that leads, I guess we'll find out. All right, let's take our final break. We got Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan, Daniel from California.
Hey.
Yeah, man, I'm just thinking about the way this team is performing, right? We're playing good football, kind of, right? Just like we're 5-2 right now, and we got everything in front of us. And there's a stat that I saw, right? Because differential, we're top 10 for turnovers, but in total giveaways, we're tied for 4th in total giveaways, right? We're 5-2, being a top 5 team in giving the ball away.
Yeah.
And yes, Jordan is playing sloppy, putting the ball into harm's way. We have plenty of fumbles and all that. But if we clean it up, even just half, if we can just get it down to 15 with how much we're getting the ball, we just seen what the defense can do. And as Halfley said, it's only going to get better, right? So just imagine how good we can be if we actually just, cut down the turnovers by half. And even if we just take down the takeaways by half, we're still a really good team, because we have 17 right now for takeaways. The next team is the Vikings with 14, even though they have a game off, so they're probably about the same as us. But if we take half and half, it would be about a +5 differential over the time of what we've had, right? So just imagine how good this team could be if we can just play clean football. Penalties too. We still have some, bonehead penalties, but penalties are going to happen just as long as they're not penalties that that are the ones where you're making a mistake, like, personal fouls and stuff like that. Holding calls and playing aggressive, it's just going to happen. But as long as we're not doing our procedural stuff, false starts and everything, we start playing some clean football. This is the best team in the NFL if we're playing clean football, because we're playing sloppy football, and look how good we are. So, without a doubt, this is the best team in football when they're playing clean football. This is a top 5 team in the NFL playing as they are right now, playing sloppy football. So, sky's the limit. It's as clean as high as they want to take it. Go Pack Go.
Yeah, that's sort of the argument of the day, right? That look how good they are despite not playing good football. And I don't know. I haven't gone through all 32 teams, but I would guess you're probably right that if this team was playing clean football, I don't know who would necessarily be better. Some people might point to the Chiefs, but I don't even know how they have the record that they have right now. They got a quarterback that's just playing some terrible football. So, no, we're in a good spot. That's all there is to it. We just got to keep getting better, and we'll make it to the playoffs. And if we get there and can keep playing consistent football, we got a shot. And that's all you can ask for. You got to get in the playoffs, and then you got to have a shot once you get there. That's it. So far, we're on track.
Hey, Ryan, this is Jersey Mike.
Hey.
So, all right. I said something about how I wanted to see some consistency last week. Hey, look, I also said what's going to happen when we don't win the turnover battle. What's this team going to look like? I want to see this. You know what? I consistently saw what I continue to believe that Jordan Love can put on the field, right? And I'm happy with it. Look, Jordan Favre, okay? Brett Love, whatever the heck you want to call him, okay? Is just what I want. Just what I want. You know what? I like the throws in the triple coverage. I like the back foot throws. I like all of them. I like all of it. I like it. You know what? The highs, the lows, I'm here for it, because at the end of the day, Jordan Love goes out there and balls, and he gives us the best chance at winning. Times we're really upset. They're like, Rodgers, come on, put that ball in there. Throw that ball. You think Rodgers would have thrown that one to Tucker Craft? Maybe, probably. But you know what? Would it look like that? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm telling you, love spreads love. Anyway, what I'm looking for this week, all right, versus the Jaguars is this. Blowout. Put the stink in it, right? Make them never want to show their faces ever again in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence. Who's Trevor Lawrence? Vince Chanel. Oh, that's one thing that we're gonna find out real quick what kind of special teams we got, because the Jaguars, for all of the crappy things they have, I don't know if there's some statistics about it or whatever, but they've almost run a few back. I think Chanel is the first one to run back one for a touchdown, ain't he? Kickoff, that is. So, there's some things we got to be worried about. We got to pay attention. The league is a finicky place, but Jacksonville, we need to blow them out. What else? Is there anything else I want to say? I don't know. I think that's it. Anyway, go Pack, go, baby.
Yeah, there's always going to be the two ways to look at it. Number one is you just have to find a way to win. But that's not the standard, right? And I think that's where people get confused or upset. If you beat the Jaguars but barely, some people are going to be happy because they got the win. Some people are going to be upset. And to some degree, they're both right. You do just have to win. But that wasn't the goal coming into the game. The goal coming into this game is not to just barely win. If you are significantly better than this team, you should beat them by it should be a relatively easy win for you. So that's it. There's 3 levels. 1, you blow them out and you check all the boxes and everybody's happy. 2, you don't blow them out and you struggle and you almost lose, but you win, where you don't look like the team we need you to look like. You don't look like the team we want you to be. You don't look like a team that's actually going to win or get to the playoffs, much less win a Super Bowl. But you got to win so we can put a pin in it, continue on, and see if you can eventually get there. But I agree, that is the goal. And anybody saying that's not the goal, just get a win, is I would say incorrect. That's a goal, but it's not all the goals. It's not the ultimate goal, because that's not what a playoff team, that's not what a team that's going to win the Super Bowl would do to a team like the Jaguars. And we could sit here and talk about, Matt LaFleur. Well, Matt LaFleur said they're a really good opponent. And Matt LaFleur said they've only lost by a couple points here and there. And Matt LaFleur, I don't give a crap. I can look at the metrics. This is like the worst pass defense in all of football. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. With Jordan Love and Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson and Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs, there's no reason why you shouldn't just put up 1 billion points. And what are you going to say is the counter to that? Well, their offense is actually quite good. If you have the defense that you want them to have, you're telling me you can't stop the Jaguars? Why? You stop the Texans. You can't stop the Jaguars, though. They're too good. Even though you have a top offense against one of the worst defenses in football, so you should be able to outpace everything, it's still like, I don't know. It's bull crap. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the stupid excuses. Just stop it.
I never missed back-to-back field goals in my career. Mic drop.
Is that a McManus stat or something? Yeah, I guess it is true. Brandon McManus has never missed back-to-back field goals in his NFL career. Throughout his time as a kicker, he has maintained a consistent performance, which a total of 58 missed field goals over his career, but he's never recorded consecutive misses. His career field goal percentage stands at approximately 81.4%. He's been particularly effective in high-pressure situations. Gee, that's not a thing that everybody doesn't need, am I right? Just immediately my mind goes to playoffs, and please, Lord, don't lose this for us. Yeah, I'm happy. It's a good catch. I did not know that about Mr. McManus.
Hi. 1265 fans.
What's going on?
So sorry it's been so long, guys. Yeah.
It's all right.
My dad's going through some stuff, so I've just been really super busy handling all that. And he's in Florida, and I'm here, and it's just... Anyway, I was at that Houston game. OMG, how fun was that? That was so much fun. I was in the southwest end zone, section 340 to be exact. I've never been up there before. It's a little farther away than I'm used to. I know I'm old and maybe need better glasses, but it was sometimes hard to tell who was making that play. Now, granted, they did have the video boards, but usually when a play starts, I'm looking on the field. I'm not looking at the video board. That's a hard habit to break because I'm just used to looking at the field. But anyway, what a great game that was. OMG. And yeah, McManus. Why can't I ever remember that guy's name? I don't think anybody can remember his name. The kicker.
Yep.
Was it McManus? It might be.
It's McNuggets.
Holy cow. He freaking dug that thing out. Well, he didn't dig the thing out. I guess that was Danny Whelan that dug that ball out of the dirt. But that was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And yep, I guess we can have ourselves a kicker. No matter how anybody feels about it, at least professionally and the way he performs, I'm happy in that regard. But yeah, I'll try to call a little more often. Okay. Bye-bye.
I'm going to remain nervous. We haven't seen him outside of just one game where he made one field goal, so I'm not going to pretend that we know everything about how amazing he's going to be. And I'm also nervous because I know for a fact he's going to miss a field goal at some point. It's also possible he could miss an extra point. It's possible. It can happen. And I know the reaction is going to be, how did that go for you? I thought he was a good kicker. What happened? Because apparently the only acceptable thing is to find a kicker that never misses anything. So I'm not looking forward to any of those things, but they're going to happen. But either way, I feel more confident in him than anybody else, and I'm happy that we got him. So look, it's important. You just got to get better. You got to get better, right? Trying to win a Super Bowl here, obviously that's the goal. And you're looking at things and just saying, what the heck can we do to actually win it this time? Well, one of them would be to have a complementary team. You have an offense, you have a defense, you have a special teams. Not because all three need to be perfect at all times, but sometimes you need a defense to bail out your offense and vice versa. And if you have a bad special teams, that causes problems. You're losing the field position battle, which is rough against tough opponents. You're missing points, leaving points on the board, et cetera, et cetera. My goodness, when we had the worst team, what was that, 2 years ago or something like that? Special teams unit, 3 years, whatever it was. And remember how many times they blocked our field goals? What the heck is that? You want to talk about things that never happen? Who's blocking field goals? What the? I don't even know what that means. But it's just taking steps to fortify the team and make sure that we have less reason to believe that it's just not going to happen, I guess.
Ryan, what's up? Kyle from Madison, man. How are you?
Good.
So I don't know where you're at with the After Dark and whatnot. I called it Monday, kind of made a similar point, so maybe you got to that or not. But I did just listen to your, Favre v. Rodgers comparison, or at least I'm halfway through the podcast. But I did have to chime in because it's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's interesting. You say the word gunslinger, and everybody just immediately replaces the name Brett Favre with what you're saying. And
right.
Certainly that's not what I mean. But the first Packers quarterback I ever remember watching was Lynn Dickey, So it's like, and you mentioned this too, like, Favre in the 90s, like, don't threaten me with a good time. If that's what Jordan Love is, you sign me the hell up for that every freaking day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But, he had stretches, early on in his career where he was chucking for Jesus, and like there are some comparisons with a couple of these games, to be fair. But I also think you're right. It is unfair to compare them. Where there is some comparison, though, if we're being honest, and we're talking late stage Favre, or at least a couple. I was at the game we lost the Giants NFC Championship game, right? Favre suddenly on like a first down and 5 or some crazy thing where you don't need to chuck it is throwing directly to a Philadelphia Eagle or a New York Giant, or he just had these inexplicable lapses of like game, situational awareness. You know what I mean? And like we did see glimmers of that. And I think maybe people are just hanging on that because of the way the season ended last year with Love chucking it, late across the middle, which, that was his first year, though. We saw Favre doing that in, 01, 03, 04, 07. You know what I mean? Like, but you're right. It's almost like two completely different players, too. So I think there is some validity to the comparisons, but it's also like kind of BS because the people comparing it are people that never even watched Favre play in the 90s. So I think you're spot on there. But like I said, if he can button that up, though, and just a little bit more late game awareness, man, I think he can be just an awesome quarterback. Also, like, I think people need to realize, like, we're coming from watching one of the guys most allergic to throwing interceptions to ever play the game. By the time he's done with this Jets season, he may not be, but like Aaron Rodgers just didn't throw picks. So I think everybody's kind of spoiled and just doesn't remember what it's like to have somebody throw picks. So, you know what? I think he's going to get there, man. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be great. Anyway, peace.
Yeah, and you said you haven't gone through it yet, but again, it's not to say that Favre has never had bad stretches. I'd listed out the years where it was as bad as what Jordan's doing. It's just a question of scale. It's similar in mentality. A 1-to-1 comparison of the interceptions, those two things look similar. But it's that you can use Favre as a singular example. There are times where Favre was throwing a good amount of interceptions and we didn't super mind. We had a good time, we enjoyed it, and we still said he was a great quarterback. There were times where we didn't do that. And the sole difference was the scale of it, how often he did that, and how, just devastating it was, because at a certain point you can't overcome it. And I think the larger point is that Jordan is on the wrong side of that. He's compensated with a ton of touchdowns. but it's just something that is relatively unsustainable. That number needs to come down. So that's really all. Again, I know you said you haven't gone through it all yet, but I think I covered that at some point. Oops, push the button. Here we go.
Well, I guess I just listened to the whole podcast first before I called. Like 2 seconds after I called and said, we just watched the most allergic to interception quarterback ever. Maybe we're a little spoiled. You said, no, anybody that says that is, kind of full of it. No, you didn't say that. You said, if that means it's okay. Now, I'm not saying it's okay what Love's doing, but, I'm pretty sure, now forgive me, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the statistics as far as percentage of interception, are you going on, is this for the season, or are we breaking down 7 games and saying if this was his interception percentage?
It's his percentage right now. It's what we're watching. That's why percentage works, right? The amount of games doesn't necessarily matter. He's thrown this percentage of interceptions over the period of time that we've watched so far, compared to Brett Favre's season or whatever.
For the year, here's where he would fall versus Favre. I'm pretty sure Favre had some horrid interception streaks, for 5-6 games here and there. Maybe not in the mid to late 90s, but, they were there. So I'm not saying that, but I do think the freak out's a little much too, and I just think, I want the guy to be good too, you have to admit also as a Packer fan, there is going to be, you can't take yourself away from either being too harsh or being not harsh enough, you know what I mean? We all want so badly for Love to be the guy and to bring home a championship. So it is I have to admit, it's just really hard to look at data. Clearly, I don't care what it says. I can't take my heart out of it, right? But I don't honestly believe that this is going to be do you really think Love's going to keep at this pace? I just have a hard time finding. I just can't imagine this is going to be the interception pace.
So, two things. Number one, I understand that that's how some people are, and I know that's why there's contention. I know that's why when I was speaking against Love last year in the beginning, there was a lot of people getting mad at me. It was a hard issue as opposed to just looking at the information. I'm trying to take the heart out of it and just look at the information. So if that's not the direction you want to go, then, just skip ahead a little bit. We'll talk about something else, I guess. But, again, it wasn't really a question of, is this going to last forever? I don't know. I would hope not. Maybe you didn't finish it again, because I think I did talk about that this is not normal for him either, that this has never been what he's done. And I do expect it to come down, but that was never really the main issue anyways. The main issue is, this is what it is. It is worse than Brett Favre ever was. It's worse than most quarterbacks that are, considered good have really ever been. And it does need to come down. Whether or not it does is a separate issue, and whether or not I think it comes down, which I do, is somewhat irrelevant to this main point. And that is just, I just want everybody to see what it is. Just look at it. Acknowledge it. Okay? This is it. Right? More than Favre. Lots and bad and not good. Once we all can just look at it and be like, all right, fine, that's it. I accept it. I concede. Whatever. Then we can move on. Then we can move on with, I think it's going to change. I think it's going to get better, whatever. But they're two separate things.
Is it okay? No. Of course it's not. But,
right.
I just don't. The guy's just too good. And, he made some freaking throws, too. It's almost like, at this point, I'll take too bad for the good. That's kind of a cop-out answer, I admit. But, certainly, this time last year, if we go back, all the way back to a year ago, man, we're in a hell of a lot better spot than we were then.
Yes.
He's been out 2 games, and he's leading the league. Can I just say, too, I know Mahomes and him are tied for interceptions, too. That's also a cop-out, too. When people are like, well, his interceptions are the same as Mahomes. Yeah, dude, okay. That's also BS, too. Mahomes has a track record. Mahomes it's not at all the same. So that's kind of the new talking point for people that want to excuse every interception. But,
right.
I just think he'll regret.
Well, and this is very similar to what people say about Favre. He looks like Favre, and Favre was good, therefore this is good. Okay, that's not true. He looks like Favre when Favre was bad, and this is bad. If you say he looks like Mahomes, well, first of all, he missed 2 games, so he's thrown significantly more interceptions, so it still doesn't work. Second of all, Mahomes looks like garbage right now. So, we can't just use names. This is what people always did with Rodgers all the time, where it was like, you want to get rid of a back-to-back MVP, Super Bowl caliber, blah, 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 blah. It's just a name, right? That has nothing to do with the current situation. Saying he looks like Mahomes doesn't mean he looks like Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl. You're saying he looks like Mahomes right now, who's playing like booty cheeks. Okay? So that doesn't help your argument. So just knock it off.
To the mean as far as interceptions. And tell the guy, what does the guy play? 24 games or whatever it is total, and he's still like a pup.
Sure.
So let's give him time. I don't think we need to excuse him or blame him yet, Sample size is small. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's, again, a lot of it, and I'm not saying that you're saying that I'm doing this, but just to be clear, I at no point wanted to come out and be like, just so you know, Jordan Love is a piece of crap, and he sucks, and we're never going to win. That's all I'm doing is saying, this is the reality. Let's stop with this. Let's stop with that. Let's don't say this anymore. Let's lay out the exact information as it exactly is so we understand it. And then let's map out what's real and what's not. These are the numbers. They are bad, and it does need to get better. Period. I think it will get better based on this information. If it does, we're in a great spot. That's pretty much the whole thing. But I don't know. I don't know that it gets better. I've got... we got callers calling in really trying hard to convince me that the interceptions that we're taking can continue. And I've said, well, I don't think they will, but yes, they can. Sometimes you just have great years. That could be the same for Jordan. It's most likely this is not going to continue. He's had a very unlucky streak, and there's been some weird situations and some uncharacteristically bad decisions and all these different things. But that doesn't mean it doesn't continue. I don't know. I don't know. I just know we're here, and we don't want to be here. We want to be over there, and we'll see how it goes. That's all I got for you. But anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. We will reconvene tomorrow. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Jordan Love, throw it picks. Jordan Love, throw it picks. Jordan Love, throw it picks. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Defenders catch it quick. Defenders catch it quick. Defenders catch it quick. No, no, no. Pass it to the other team. Pass it to the other team. Pass it to the other team. Hey, hey, hey. Packer fans just scream. Packer fans just scream. Packer fans just scream. Why? Ball goes the wrong way. Ball goes the wrong way. Ball goes the wrong way. Nah, nah, nah. Defense makes them pay. Defense makes them pay. Ha, ha, ha. Coaches pull their hair. Coaches pull their hair. Coaches pull their hair. Whoa, oh, oh. Fans in total despair. Fans in total despair. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Throws like a rocket, babe, but landed in the wrong arms. Gotta keep your head up high amidst all these harms. Green's the field of dreams, but nightmares lurk tonight. Come on, Jordan, find that aim. Steer us to the light. Without a guide, he's got the moves of flair, but safety on the side, and zones like a mirage, fading in the heat. Got talent up in his sleeve, but can he feel the beat? Throws like a rocket, babe, but landed in the wrong arms. Gotta keep your head up high amidst all these harms. Green's the field of dreams, but nightmares lurk tonight. Come on, Jordan, find that aim. Steer us to the light. Under the stadium lights, pressure seals the fright. Gotta dodge the fall, against fate we fight. Crowd's got a heavy heart, but hope won't fade away. Packers got their pride, will rise someday.